Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogboat333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, the Northern last days of Europe as the state of Guangdong. Now, in our last video, well, we started doing some economic stuff. We're having some people move into our cities. We set up our initial bureaucratic stuff. We're going to ask for some help from the Japanese. A little bit of help, at least. Yeah. And so, we're going to go ahead and get an extra seat real quick. Then I think we're going to go ahead and go for this urban housing ordinance. We might be able to pass it without, regardless. But I'd like another seat just in case. Just because I don't know how much we're going to have to push forward. We're poorly in luck, Guangxi. Your pain has told our whole last seafront. Feels bad. Let me. Yep. Poor guys, I got cucked. Haspias Van, the Civil War? I believe that's going to allow us to sell markets in Germany. It'll be very nice. Got something for you, said Ito, making the almost comically large amount of papers in Kawasaki's desk somewhat larger and threatening to finally spill over into the realm of the comical. Treasure map to the bad guys? Yip's funeral. Chief says we all have to go next week. Exciting, I know. Huh. All in Cantonese, too, I see. For 3 hours. Important Cantonese phrases for funerals on the back, too. And yet it seems there's no Cantonese word for backup. Or common sense. Anyway, you found anything? Whole fucking border, that's what I got. Coming in from everywhere. Fujian, Jiangxi, Guangxi, you name it. Absurd quantities of goods and clients. So much I half think they're lying to impress someone. Well, I'm impressed. Do we at least have locations where the goods are coming from? Yeah, right for the main roads. Customs and all. The Chinese are just letting them pass? Isn't dealing with this their job? This is too much explained by bribery alone.
Margaret Thatcher as Prime Minister.
And the rush comes are at 1 in Ukraine. L after L, it seems. Get more skilled engineers. God damn it, not again. We'll take a little bit of corruption. To the esteemed individuals. Matsushita clenched the fountain pen with excessive force as he continued to compose a letter, his hand, usually firm and steady, erratically twitching as he pressed down line after line. The sheet of paper was embellished with columns of ink, forming words in clean and organized handwriting. The letter contained the usual hollow pleasantries, greetings and praises slathered in honey to conceal bitter words of pleading. In order for us to continue and further advance our operations... Matsushita bit his lip and placed his palm upon his forehead. He simply could not believe it would have to come to this, where he would have to address some men in Tokyo as if they were his masters and require some money. Due to the rapidly accumulating debts of our state, we humbly request for additional funds be provided. The matter is of the utmost urgency. If the state does not manage to escape the accumulated debt, there will be consequences for the global economy. The funds have to be secured. I implore you to send it as soon as you could. I absolutely assure you that you will be reimbursed in full once our situation is improved. You have my unwavering guarantee and commitment. Matsushita repulsed, almost gagging, as he scribbled the sentences onto the paper. Imagined the men in Tokyo sneering in antipathy as they read the pathetic words of imploration, remarking about his lack of honor and dignity. He sighed as he slid the folded sheet of paper through an envelope. The simple act of penning a letter had thoroughly drained his resolve for the day. He vowed to never defile his reputation in such a manner again. Not like this. But necessary sacrifices. Yeah, let's go ahead and address the Legislative Council. Legislative Council, the glistening gilded pillar upon which the state is held, the bedrock of authority that guides and supports Guangdong, is something that is absolutely not to be ignored or neglected. Though it is evident that we, Matsushita, hold a copious amount of sway and are the dominating corporation, the other corporations of the Council are nevertheless present in Guangdong's administration and economy. It is required that we take notice of the concerns and issues of the other corporations. This act will further seal Matsushita's position as a center of the Council, something we imperatively need to improve. We got 25 days. Military coup in Thailand. Got some great quality product so far, though. I think we'll hold up and get a press conference kicking off soon. Average interest, great quality. There we go. Hold a massive press conference. Well, there goes Jack. What do we have on the Ordnance Act? 47 out of 100. We still have room to gain support from our own guys, it seems. Let's do the Urban Housing Ordinance. It's time to take our proposals to the Legislation Council. Actually, I'll hold off a little bit, save some political power. We might need more political power. Yeah. In the meanwhile, we'll go ahead and do safe and sound real quick. Guangdong is a land of freedom and prosperity, but if we are to take pride in the stable society in which our citizens can enjoy these natural rights, it's of yet most importance that we organize a strong security presence throughout the Delta. From dissident recruiting in the city back streets to officials taking bribes in the shadows of government buildings, the state must wield the authority to regiment the disorderly and pacify the rebellious, so that law and order can guarantee the peace and security so desirable in our great nation. I didn't start my timer. If we are to be fair, and if we are to be free, we must punish the wicked, so that the wealth may flow down the lifeline of our great nation. Nine days left. 8. Unless there's any really quick stuff we can do. Active for 10 days. Dude, this will be done in 5. This would get us up to grade, I think. Next. I'm fine with how this is. I'm fine with how this is. Oops, didn't mean to close that. Experience unprecedented clarity of sound and fine reception through the laser 9-transistor T100 radio. The latest from Matsushita Electric. Listen to your favorite programs when and where you please. Everyone says the same thing these days. Weren't they releasing 9-transistor radios a few years ago? Yes, but did you hear the price? Max said, fiddling with dial in the break room's T100 to a rising din of static. keeps on going down and down. Matsushita is just the latest one playing the game at a 30% discount, no less. Whatever. Even Chinese radio stations, even for the Chinese radio station, it's all government-approved programming, right? Radio plays the latest baseball scores from Japan. Can't say it interests me, even if I hear it from every house on the street these days. Still faster than waiting for the morning paper. And listen to this. Mac twisted the dial once more and the static faded away to a scratchily faint voice in Chinese. The amateur speaking a language they understood, a message they both held dear. People speak in the space below the noises. Get an extra Lego seat? Turkey will get an extra event, I believe. I guess we'll get our own event similar to it soon as well. Increases in police support, either way. Turks better buy our shit. I hope so. Now I'm gonna have to have a word with my Turkish contact. Ask him what the fuck's going on. Nihil, motherfucker. Well, let's go ahead and do the... Stop here and save. Just in case this doesn't go through. I'm optimistic, but my optimism doesn't always work out, so. It's time to take our proposals to the Legislative Council. The Urban Housing Ordinance will begin mandatory urbanization, and also loosening housing and construction regulations to promote the building of houses for new workers. Compiled within this bill are new quotas to be set as soon as mandatory urbanization starts, as well as programs that will modernize both farming and factory equipment. If this bill passes, it will be a huge victory for the Matsushita administration. If not, it may be a sign that Matsushita's plans for Guangdong will end before they even start. Let's see, approval. This isn't too bad, honestly. How much do we need? We only need one more, actually. So that won't be too bad. We'll spread one of our own guys. Keep it within the family, you know? The house faced southward toward the sea where faint peaks of foam crest the waves, surfing towards the cliff faces of the Tide Prefecture. The Han River flowed to the ocean here, out to the South China Sea, under the gaze of the Free Mountains. Lam Hao Cheung began his life here, born in the house that the clan had owned for perhaps a century or more. Westwards, the sun bent low, casting long shadows out of the squat buildings and gray stone archways dating back to the Tang era. The wind chimes jingled softly against the midsummer breeze. It was the first memory Lan had. His mother cradled him in her lap. Barely 2 years old, Lam's first words were Mama and Papa. The world flowed out from languid embrace of parental love, warm and sometimes suffocating. Mother and child spun the silk spinner's wheel, round and round, watching as the machine refined the rough silk into a thin, soft fabric. She guided his hand, running through his little fingers over the smooth, finished cloth. The child giggled as his mother explained the history of their clan. This was the family business. The people of Chaozhou and Shantou, hardly settled from other provinces, made their living in the silk trade for centuries now. You are the children of those pioneers. In your blood flows the same resolute doggedness wherever you go. Do not forget this. She spoke in the elegant, even dialect of the Maizhou Hakka, trusting her child to understand what she could not say in Teochew. Guest people we have been, and guest people we shall remain, forever, forever. The blasted Brinier of childhood betrayed nothing but the fervor that gripped the prefecture. The first memory Leon had of his father was a silhouette against the crevice of the main door to the house, and 2 faint sentences. They're finally doing it. We have to help somehow. The memory ended in the shadow of 3 mountains rising against the stars. Had it really been that long ago? Evidently. At times it felt like there was nothing in the world that could alleviate the overbearing Syrian heat. Mehmet felt the brunt of most days. Going on patrol in the middle of a desert at high noon in full military uniform made a man feel as if he'd been left the living world and entered some grand cosmic oven. And as he entered the military base, Mehmet was met with precious cold respite. A few weeks ago, a new air conditioner from Matsushita had been installed, and it made a world of difference to him and the other troops. The cold was limited to 1 room alone, granted, which made it somewhat of a haven for scorched troops after patrol. Throwing off his headgear and heavy vest, Mehmet collapsed onto one of the nearby benches, savoring the chill. He knew that, historically, poor conditions had been the death of older Turkish soldiers. Would be back in the heat tomorrow, but he had the advantage of the aircon that they never had. As long as he had a nice cool base to come back to, then Mehmet would be fine. Sweet relief. So, seems like we might not be able to go back into the Turkish market immediately, but we can find another market, I think. Turkish dollar. Lira, rather. Okay. So we have amendment options. Fujitsu Amendment Corp priority focuses on planning priorities to corporations, building factories and offices over construction houses. Or Sony Amendment, further housing to follow specific standards enforced by government. Rejected. Issues of infrastructural contracts favoring ourselves, Abu Gramida. Options sustainable due expenses, possible loss of internal support. 2. Simply biding time. Conclusion. Hong Kong and Sony are already leaning towards us. Supporting the Fujitsu Amendment would probably give us. But the Sony one sounds a little better, potentially, overall. So I'll do that one. Gives us 2 extra votes. Proclaiming your sympathy with the urban poor of Guangdong is nice, but when rubber hits the road, he needs someone to actually construct the housing. Normally a simple enough proposition, Matsushita thought. Sitting in the back of his motorcade, he saw Koshu's skyline blurred by its high-rises and government buildings, cast in dark shadow. The sun was beginning to ascend to his right, pedestrians began to disperse for the night. Those night dwellers who ran Guangdong in the dark began to come out. The entire country was built off of one simple principle, give and take. One cannot expect to rise high in Guangdong if they are unable to integrate themselves to others by doing favors for them. Then, when the time was right, you would call in the favors for whatever task you need done. Whatever illusions he had of dispelling this idea, they were long gone now. The choice was clear. Either Samchak, Marita, or Buka's men to help build the urban housing. Not out of any practical purpose, but as time again would show, a political one. The ordinance was in no danger of abandonment by the Legislative Council, but the more who backed the proposal, the stronger position he would be in. Matsushita thought back to his days in school as a child. Caesar was adopted by the elites of the Republic because he had the compulsive habit of forgiveness. Forgiveness was a value ill-mentioned in the Pearl or Delta. Matsushita looked back towards the marina. Skyscrapers designated with azure and scarlet signatures of Fujitsu and Sony alike, pockmarked the entire skyline. Never heard of that word before. Where was Matsushita? Where was his legacy? Did he really think these snarling wolves would show him the iota of mercy that he would now? Legislative Council would bend the knee to him, regardless if he gave the blackening scraps of victory to his enemies. Yes, enemies, he would do fine by himself. Was it foolish to place himself in yourself? We could still use some of our seats. No, it's not. So we have 55. It's going well enough, I think. As the last light faded from the office, Matsushita was faced with one more meeting. Komai Kenichiro of Itachi Corporation asked to visit the chief executive, claiming he had an easy answer for passing Matsushita's news ordinance. Matsushita disliked such deals, but he always made certain to hear them out. Komai Kenichiro arrived with a smooth air to him, somewhat as lively as ever despite the late hour. Matsushita was surprised as he had no briefcase with him, no notes. Demands typically were complex enough to require papers. This had to be something different. Komai reached out a hand to chief executive. No worries, Matsushita. I'm not here to force your hand. You won't have to change a word on news legislation. I only require monetary compensation. Matsushita smiled. He'd be a fool not to... stood up in his chair, confused but not indignant. A bribe, you mean? He'd be a fool not to give it. Think about how this conversation looks with Marita and Ibuka. They'd ask for revisions, how they'd practically end up writing the bill themselves. Working with me is easier. Safer. Matsushita sat for a moment, considering the offer. Finally offered his thoughts. Keep your haggling to the markets, Komai. We don't need them. Ah, shit. Choshu. Which one is that again? That's not nice. Cheong disheartenedly gazed over the passports which the men had shoved in his face, as the rest of his pals shifted on awkwardly. State of Guangdong, they all said, yellow crests on red background. Cheong hated the sight of Guangdong passports. Maybe it was just for lack of imagination on display. Imagination on display, rather. He leafed through the pages, and all he could see were outlines of territory, government buildings, the bare essentials of statecraft. The papers looked legit enough, he supposed, as legit as a Guangdong passport could ever be. What were you in China for? Family visit. Came the immediate reply, almost all in unison. All of you? Or from the same village? I see. Do you acknowledge the legitimate and independent status of the state of Guangdong? Yes. Are you in possession of any contraband or illegal substances? No. Unfortunately, we'll have to search you regardless. Police crackdown. Sorry about that. Are you sure you have to? Look, we can... 5 armed policemen appeared. Drop those pants before I drop them for you. Uwu? No Uwu. And... I think we got it. See, here's going to be the benefits. Chinese support increases by 3%. Chinese opinion increases. GDP will increase. Poverty will slowly increase. Extra support from the Chinese in the main cities. Extra healthcare. Poverty rate will begin to slowly improve. Extra hospitals, administrative offices. Not bad at all, honestly. I like it. Next, I think we'll go with good workmen and tools. Sounds kind of hot, true. Our factories here are some of the most productive in the sphere, so they need to provide for goods for much of East Asia. However, the potential of their workers is not at all at its full potential, since they use rudimentary tools and equipment. Modernization of factory equipment should be top priority, since it is the key that unlocks our full economic potential. Matsushita gave a small, strained smile to the camera, as a much more enthusiastic Marita beamed next to him. Inviting the press to tour the newly built public housing complex, the first of its kind in Guangdong, had been Matsushita's idea. Marita's attendance had been his own request, insisting he see results of the standards he'd helped craft in person. Matsushita couldn't deny that Marita's proposals had produced a reasonably high-quality living space, fully hooked up to water, power, and gas. The apartments one of which they were now standing in, would provide each resident with their own kitchen, toilet, and shower, luxuries that had been scarce among the workers of Guangdong until now. But looking over it, Matsushita could help but think of the cost of government coffers this all brought to it. He was brought out of his broodings when Marina looked at him, took him by the arm. Don't look down. You really accomplished something. I know you've been looking to open a new facility, so have I. We should expand into this neighborhood, fire some of the new tenants here. Happy, healthy people make better workers. Matsushita nodded. I suppose you're right. Luxuries like toilets. Yeah. Well, I mean, when I went to China, they still had... There was what they called the Western style and the Chinese style. Mainly in, like, more public spaces, but there would be Chinese-style toilet that was just a hole. They had a squat in. Some of the poor girl got really drunk, and she had to go to a bowling alley, and there was just a hole there. The men's bathrooms had Western toilets, which kind of sucked for the women. I don't know what that says about China. The spring blossoms heralded the beginning of April. Hirata Masaharu's career was coming to an end. Section Chief Tatsumi read through Matsuharu's handwritten resignation, his worn hand seeping sweat into the paper before looking at his 20-year-old employee straight to the eye. Congratulations on your marriage, Hirata. I'll be sorry to lose you, but it can't be helped. Thank you for your guidance, Masaharu said flatly. It wasn't a formality. Mitsui Bank had made sure the aristocratic son of the esteemed painter Hirata Shodu had earned his pay. But Hirata had little else to say. His future, after all, was nowhere else. To be welcomed to Matsushita Electric as its next head, Tatsumi set aside Hirata's resignation letter just for first folding in, waving it ostensively as he spoke. Just don't disappoint your new wife, or her family name. Look at the two of you. Matsushita Konosuke laughed gregariously as his new son-in-law sat sheepishly beside Sachiko, his only daughter, in their Osaka home. I'm sure things will get easier between the two of you, but for now, let's eat, to celebrate your joining our family. That's very gracious of you. To prepare all this food, even at a time of war. It's nothing compared to the happiness of your marriage, Konosuke stated firmly, his Osakan accent hiding none of the genuine warmth in his words. Even if you've got much to learn about Osaka's way of doing business, sleep safer knowing you're with us now. From Hirata to Matsushita. We'll go ahead. We'll reinforce the Chokai police. And we'll go ahead and downsize the Kenpai Tai over here. Getting in a better position to take back over in Shokai. I think all of this is capped out at 100. I want to say. I'm kind of noticing that. And so as long as we have control, after a while, I think we'll be okay. It's sort of what I'm starting to notice. How's it going over there? Komi is hanging strong, surprisingly. Although they're not pushing against Vyatka at all. The AB might somehow end up winning there. Corruption is kind of annoyingly high. Can solicit financial aid. I will purge corrupt officials. What do they declare on? Samara. That'll be interesting. We'll go ahead and... Who won in Germany? Speer did. Which is going to be good for us, because Speer will actually go ahead and, let us expand into his markets. I know if, we can expand to American markets if the RDs win, and they end up getting Hawaii back. I believe that's how that works. Which would be very nice if we could do that. Fuck yeah, print yen. You know it. You know it. Ah, shit. Fuck money, get geishas. Next, we'll go ahead and... I don't like the decrease of police support over there. So I might have to go for this one. I'm thinking. I hope the Beatles isn't detectable in the speakers, or that the computer system doesn't notice that. I kind of want to go start working towards maybe this. Although there is some of this that we should probably get working towards, I realize. Especially when it comes to police. Yeah. Especially over here, methinks. Let's do nothing to fear. An adequate and skillful police force is the cornerstone of enforcement and maintenance in a truly successful nation. It's the ambition that many strive for, but alas, it's easier said than done, and this task will be extremely burdensome and demanding. The current police force of Guangdong is an affront and a demonstration against the authority of administration. Dating back to before the Yasuda crisis, and only being exacerbated by this event, the police force had been, and still undeniably is, woefully under-equipped and undermanned, and absolutely unsuited for its exacting task of the pacification of the clutter and chaos of Guangdong's ever-busy streets. I hope this tree isn't one of those, we're going to switch to new one before we can complete most of the trees. I hope not, too. In order for the police force to become a capable tool of imposition and pacification, plenty of effort and funds will be required, as to change the pitiful reality of our current protectors of nation. The thing that makes me think it not is because it's pretty well timed out. Because it's not like the German Civil War, where if you don't finish that quick and it keeps going on, eventually you're going to get to the oil crisis, which, at least in Speer's case, gets to the slave revolt, and so you get that cut off. So it's not like that, so that makes me think that I'll be okay there. That we'll be okay there, rather. Guangdong is boosting economically. Allende? Oh, that won't go wrong at all, I'm sure. I think one of the weakest parts of the American tree. They're so big. Yeah, but usually if you stay with the one term, and if you stick with a president, it's usually okay, from my experience. I think I'll do a tax cut. We'll increase our growth through it. We'll lose some surplus, but we'll get some growth. The Battle of Montevideo. How are we doing poverty-wise? We're not going down quite yet, but we're getting along. This was getting ridiculous, so he thought. There were 10 men all armed, and yet they just stood there. What could they do without killing him? Judging by the slurred, semi-coherent way in which the suspect spoke and swung his knife around, it was clearly more of a danger to himself than Koshu's finest. Perhaps it would be best to try and calm the suspect down. Zhao turned to his commander and began to change his mind before he opened his mouth. Despite Zoi's being ostensibly second in command, Lieutenant Furukawa was not a man who was receptive to advice. He felt it made him look soft. All the same, he didn't want a corpse to deal with either. Too much paperwork, and on a Friday no less. So he stood idly bellowing his guts out. Must always pick look very surprised at something. Yeah? Honestly. No, asking for permission wasn't going to solve anything. Zoi took a step forward. His colleagues in Furukawa looked among themselves, unsure what to do. The suspect's movement had become more animated and haphazard. Have you been chosen then, pig? Are you going to be the one that kills me? My name is Zoi. Nobody's here to kill you if you can just put that weapon down. What's your name? He did not drop his weapon, but he did lower it. My name is Ng. I don't know how to pronounce that. Nice to meet you, Ng. Why are you swinging the knife around? People could get hurt. I don't know. Things have just... It's all just... I don't know nothing anymore. Ng was crying now, though the blade remained in his hand. We want to help you, Ng. But we can't do that until you put down the knife. If you do that, I can get my colleagues to lower their weapons. Upon hearing this challenge to his authority, Furukawa rose from his stupor. No such thing will happen. Drop the weapon in 5 seconds or die. He shouted. In Japanese. What's he saying? Ng said, raising the knife once again. One of the officers fired, then shot. The shot landing inches away from Ng said. Ng ran out of the alley towards the street, towards people. As they ran after Ng, the police shot repeatedly, tearing holes in nearby walls and causing civilians to dive out of the way. Eventually a shot would land, Zoi knew, but who else would get hurt first? And if someone did get hit, he knew full well that he would be blamed, all for trying to help. There is no mercy in justice. We could get an extra seat potentially by doing that, but that would piss off everyone. 10 out of 10 police work there. True. Merciful heart. The existing Japanese element, it's present and residing within our police force, is a variable we have to handle with utmost caution. It has been known that several Japanese personnel in the police force have been engaged in corruption and financial improprieties. Such behavior would, under normal circumstances, warrant immediate expulsion, but it's been best not to infuriate them in order to maintain a semblance of harmony within our ranks. We'll show the Japanese officers and their associates a degree of leniency, the extent of which will be decided. Interesting. We're actually securing our control in places like Momai. I'm actually impressed. Macau is a little iffy still, but we're hanging in still. Police. We can modernize the units. The guitar upstairs is riffing. On one hand, it's not neat to hear. On the other hand, if you guys can hear that, it's probably gonna not be good for the video. I can't hear. That's good. Hopefully the video or the YouTube doesn't pick it up. The end of the South African War. Not as bad as how America usually has it turn out. Though I don't quite know. It's a defeat in their books, which fair enough. I don't know, since the new update I haven't seen South Africa really go well for the Americans. I don't know why that is either. Full victory. Nakatomi Michio stood outside of a chief executive's office, attempting to maintain a calm expression. His navy uniform, damp and drenched in sweat. It was known that the chief executive was conducting a campaign of intolerance against the forces of corruption. The last string of men that were in his office did not exit with their position or status. Nakatomi stared blankly at the mahogany door in front of him. Behind it was the room where the fate of his career would be decided. He desperately tried to reassure himself, repeating comfortable scenarios as placebos to soothe his festering anxiety. Perhaps it was just a routine affair or unremarkable reprimand for not following protocol. He turned the steel doorknob gently after taking one last deep breath. Matsushita's menacing stance and upright posture set a frigid gust of wind in Nakatomi's direction. He sat down upon a leather chair, placed opposite the chief executive. Shifting slightly with apprehension, Matsushita began to speak. Suppose you already know why I've called you here? Nakatomi shuddered. He wished to speak, but his mouth failed him. His deep breaths had transformed an audible gasp for air. His heart began to race as he read the words imprinted onto the documents, the paragraphs seemingly unintelligible aside from the mentions of his name next to terms like corruption. He felt the walls of the expansive office close in around him as he inspected the photographs, his eyeballs unable to focus upon a single image, depicting checks and transaction records all addressed under his name. He looked up once more at the chief executive. His expression unaltered, with delusive sweat poured down Nakatomi's neck. His fate was now clenched within Matsushita's hands. Drastic measures need to be taken. Increases Japanese and Jujin support. The Japanese expats will not be happy at all. But, cope and seethe. That's what I have to say to that. Fucking ads. Damn it. Dang it, Kev. Well. I think we'll go and do the beginnings of an intelligence network. Alongside the myriad of problems present within the police force, the established order has certainly been a protruding issue, comparable to a beam of wood that has failed to petrify, instead rotting away. The current order is needlessly rigid, almost entirely being hegemonized by bands of Japanese officers. To distance ourselves away from the poorly managed order, we shall begin the establishment of several separate departments and agencies within the police force, to hopefully diversify and decentralize their future efforts. A clear option would be the establishment of an expansive and flexible intelligence network, further increasing our influence in Guangdong and creating a more specialized and tenable outlet for exercising control. What happened to Corrupt Boy? Drastic measures had to be taken. We did not just give him an early retirement. Real quick, I'm going to check. What does our GDP need to be at? We're just about there, actually. Still have some progress to be made there. But yeah, he had an early retirement. We told Smart might need a massive defection at this point. It might. I think you have a point, but we'll have to wait and see for next time on that. So, yeah. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Like if you liked, dislike if you didn't. Leave your comments back down in the comment section below. Check out the links down in the description box below as well. That's it for now, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.